Hope you're ready for this.
Gonna be fun.
You will not stand in my way.
Frostborn. Hunger. This pleases me.
I do not fear you, mortal.
Your soul shall be mine.
Don't make me laugh.
Need a brew? Oh, I do. Feel a shredding, baby. Let the battle begin.
So hello and welcome to the 15th episode of Trollin HGC, a Heroes of the Storm podcast focused on esports, a member of the Trolls.gg podcast network. I'm your host, LiQuid, and I'm joined today as usual by Bahgz. How's it going, man? Dude, it's been a good week. It's been a busy week, and I'm looking forward to see what happens this weekend. We got Latin America finals. We got ANZ finals. Well, ANZ finals next weekend. And lots of good games going on. Lots of stuff to get to. And 2 new bumpers that you finished making up today. So it's been a good week. But you got them done before the game. That's what matters, right? Oh, man. Someone's... Wait. I got you muted. All right, it's fixed. Apparently, I had you muted. I love you, man. I didn't mute you on purpose, I promise. So there we go. All right. So for those of you that missed that, Bahgz said he's doing good, and we're good to go. So we're gonna just keep going. Oh, those production qualities. I can't wait. In fact, so absolutely. And it's funny, right? So Artemis Hal on Twitter always like says this many days until, oh my God, they say they still can't hear you. I hear you. Talk. It's moving. Definitely moving. Oh, hold on.
I'm going to take this opportunity
There we
to
go.
open up Fortnite.
I have issues. I'm sorry. All of you guys in chat, thank you for pointing that out. I tried to get fancy earlier today to do something special for you guys, and apparently I screwed up something else. So Bahgz, try to talk now, because they should be able to hear you now.
Hello, friends. Can you hear me now? Trolls?
All the little trolls out there. Can you hear Bahgz? I hope so. Now we gotta wait for him to talk. All right, Dave said hello, so I think we're good there. All right. So anyway, what I was trying to say is Artemis tells, like, every morning she'll be like X days till BlizzCon, and this morning or yesterday was 45 days. Today is 44 days. So I'm excited. That's right, 44 days. Who do you think will be closing act this year? That was this morning's tweet. So that's my little nod over to Artemis Hal, who is doing awesome work for Heroes Hype and also loves the community so much.
Last year it was Hodor, right? It was, I don't know his actual name, but last year it was Hodor. Yeah, as a DJ. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. And then the year before I was there, it was Linkin Park. Rest in peace. And so that's a good question. Did anyone have any like cool
No, it wasn't
cool theories?
Hodor. It was Weird Al last year. That's right. I was like,
Was it
wait a
Weird
minute.
Al?
Yeah, it was
Wait,
Weird Al,
wait.
dude.
Who Hodor was there, man.
Oh, I'm sure he was there. I'm just saying, like, Weird Al closed.
Closed. Okay.
And then the year before that was
Linkin Park.
And
that
then the
I
year
know for a
before
fact.
that was Metallica.
I was in line to play Heroes, and he was playing in the background.
All right. And then the year before that was Metallica. I remember Metallica closing. I think that was, you would think they would have like a closing ceremonies list that you could pick up. All right, that was that.
I don't know if Ozzy was there one year or if he just did that commercial for World of Warcraft.
All right, so Ozzy Osbourne did 2009.
Oh, so you found a list.
I sort of. 2010 was Tenacious D with Dave Grohl. All right. 2011 went back to ETC with Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
2013 looks like it was Blink 182. 2014 was Metallica. 15 was, like you said, Linkin Park, and 16 was Weird Al Yankovic. Oh, but Hodor was there DJing the 25th anniversary party.
I knew he had an involvement.
There you
he's
go,
a DJ
man.
on the side. I know that.
There
I
you
knew.
go. So, and the reason this is important to you, Trollin HGC fans, is because HGC culminates at BlizzCon, and we will be there giving away swag that our Patreons are supporting. I wrapped that right around, baby. I love that. All right, so patreon.com/TrollsGG. We share that with the Nexus Trolls. Any money that we get through there, we're ordering t-shirts, some sunglasses, some other swag that we're going to be giving away while we're at BlizzCon. We're making that purchase this weekend. So if you want to donate any money at all, you can hit us up on PayPal. PayPal.me/TrollsGG. All donations are going to swag. Anything we made from Patreon, anything we made from Twitch, anything we made from directly to PayPal means it's going straight into swag for this year's BlizzCon. And then we'll be giving that away. Hit us up on Twitter, find out where we are. I'll basically be at the HGC stage the entire time because that's the kind of nut I am, and I want the best seats for the entire time, and I will not move to save those best seats the entire time. That's my plan. And the troll of the week that we pick is Decro. He is a follower of both shows and on shot caller for the chair league team Arthritic Abathurs, and good all around good dude. So that is our troll of the week. And then chat. I don't to answer Schizophrenic. Yes, I think that is going to be the end until 2018, late January. Pedro Lima, I don't know that they're going to do qualifiers this year because having earned your HGC spot, you should keep your HGC spot unless you go through the Crucible stuff. I don't know that that's going to change this week. So, or this at the end of the year. I think at the end of the year, they'll get a couple months off, Christmas, Thanksgiving, all that stuff, and then they'll pick back up in the end of January. Lots of scrims and such.
Relatively speaking, it's a short off season. Like baseball is notorious for having a really long season, running from the very, very beginning of April to the middle of November. HGC essentially runs nonstop.
Yep.
Like there's not even much of a break in between the phases, especially for the good teams. Essentially runs nonstop from late January to November. That's a long time. It's a long time with very little off season. It's good for them to get a breather. And I'm sure there's going to be exhibition events. I would imagine, I could be wrong, but I'd imagine, and Solid Jake going forward, maybe he'll want to move Bloodlust to then.
Well, I know that's also when we're targeting to do the next Creators of the Storm tournament as well. Is during that period because there's nothing there's no HGC going on at that point. So it'll be a good time for lots of little exhibition stuff like you mentioned, but HGC stuff won't happen during that period. But are you ready to test out this new news bumper and jump into some news?
Guys, I hope you enjoy it.
Tonight, Trollin HGC presents Heroes Esports News and Notes with your hosts, LiQuiuD and Bahgz.
All right, I got to be honest, though, with that bumper, you freaked me out a little when we pop up on the screen because I'm like, oh, God, did it just switch on me? I was like, oh, no.
Whoops.
But that's okay. Let's jump into the news. All right, so we got patch schedule update, which is important for all of us people who, watch this year, nonstop, right? So the Kel'Thuzad patch is what they're going to play on for week 10, which is this week. And then the HGC playoffs, which will be the following, actually, I think it's 2 weeks later, will be played on the Kel'Thuzad balance patch, which is what I believe we're currently on now. Hard to keep track. I think that's right, right?
You and I have had the same struggle the pros have. You're trying to figure out where we are.
Right? I'm pretty sure this is the Kel'Thuzad balance patch, even though we got a balance. Yeah, so I'm 90% sure this is going to be the case. There will be no Anna in the playoffs. I think there's a chance we'll see Anna at the BlizzCon tournament. Well, the week before BlizzCon, right? Because all of the teams are going to get together. Because there's a lot of teams, right? Top three from the major or three from each of the major regions.
16 teams, I believe.
Right. And so they're going to do 8 teams will get eliminated before BlizzCon even happens. So we should see Anna in that week before BlizzCon, and then during BlizzCon, yes. Now
Honestly,
nobody's confirmed that, but that is how it should work out.
Based on like the track record, Anna should be available, and Junkrat should have just come out, but won't be available.
Right. So that should be where we end up on. And then an awesome thing, make sure you guys set your whatever it is you want to set to remember this. But tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern, we will have GFE versus Team Freedom in an exhibition match playing on Volskaya with Anna. Well, Anna available, right? We'll see who bans, picks, whatever, how that works out. 5 games. J-How and Solid Jake are going to be casting that.
That's tomorrow at 1.
Yes.
By the way. So that's going to be awesome. I'm a little bummed because I'm literally going to be packing my lunch, ironing my uniform, and getting ready for work while that's happening. So I'm probably going to catch like 1 match, and then I'll have to catch the rest on VODs or read about it because I guess it's not super important, but it's really cool.
It should be awesome. It should be really cool. I can't wait to see it. Also, we have an HGC cheer update. RRR and KT cheer rewards are also going to get the new logos. And if you had Space Station... if I'm reading this right, if you have Space Station Gaming rewards replace your No Tomorrows, you will retroactively get the No Tomorrow rewards sent back to you.
Correct. So the concept being is you cheered for No Tomorrow before they were picked up by Space Station. You had No Tomorrow banners, skins, sprays, portraits. And then when they were picked up by Space Station, they were replaced. Blizzard probably, I guess, got enough flack that they were like, okay, they're just JPEGs. Here, have them. And they're giving them back so they can have both.
I mean, the assets already exist, right? Like you literally just had to put it back.
Yeah. So, and then same thing with RR, and essentially the same thing. RR and KT updated their logos, so now you'll have both, which should make Royal Light happy because she was looking for the red panda, and now we'll get it. Yeah,
absolutely. And then in our show notes, we have a link to the interview with Nabi, the new Dignitas coach. Really interesting read. Definitely go check that out. He talks about, how he got into being coach of Dignitas and what he thinks he's going to do now that he is a coach for Dignitas. So definitely check that out.
I don't want to spoil it. It was a really great interview. A lot of people have been commenting like, who's Nabi? Where did this guy come from?
Yeah.
Just goes to show you put your name out there, you give it your best shot, and everything's worth a try.
Absolutely. It can't hurt, right? I mean, what's the worst that happens? Someone says no. Okay, well, I tell my kids this. If you want to ask a question, ask the question. The worst that can happen is I say no. And if you haven't asked, you're already at that point anyway.
One of the biggest things I struggled with growing up, and still to a degree, is just kind of working up the courage to do something when it's really just do it. Right. Just go out and do it. So congrats. Yeah, I just saw him in chat earlier. Congrats again to him.
Absolutely. All right, what else we got? And one last thing that just came out. A couple of really, I won't say influential, but people that the entire scene is familiar with just got nominated for the eSports Industry Awards. Schwimply was nominated for PC Player of the Year. Bakery for the UK Esports Player of the Year in association with L'Oreal Men Expert. That's a mouthful, man. But
I just think of L'Oreal for kids when.
No, man. I was thinking of
I think of a little fishy commercial.
Bakery does have that hair, but Smexy's got the stare down, so maybe that could have gone either way. LiQuid got the broadcaster, or is nominated for Broadcaster of the Year, which is awesome. And then L5 was nominated for the Team of the Year. L5, of course, has multiple games, and that doesn't really surprise me that they ended up with that nomination. But kudos to them. You can check it out in the link in our show notes and vote for them to try and get them the actual win, because these were just nominations. And, it makes me happy, though. We have 4 nominations for Heroes-related people or teams in an industry award. So that's cool to me. That just shows us growing even more.
Yeah, especially it's like you said, like in an industry where we're trying to get our foot in the door, we're making headway.
Right. Cool. All right, you ready to try out the second bumper, man?
All right, let me know if you like it in chat, guys.
All right, here, this is we're gonna jump into HGC results, and this is the bumper for that. go do it manually.
The hook is going to help out, and we're going to see Stitches fall as well. It's going to be a 1-for-1 trade.
It's the 1-for-1 trade as we once again have the Dragon Blade used on the side of Genji. He's trying that in. Dashes out, sail yellow.
That was just about the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life.
It's a dance party, and you're invited.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to HGC Western Clash.
All right, and we're back. Okay, so also showing the top 5 plays for Phase 2, Week 9 while we go through these results. All right, overall there were some interesting things that happened. We're gonna hit each of the regions and kind of go into what really went down. Starting with China, SPT continues to pull away from the pack. No surprise there. They actually ended up qualifying for BlizzCon this morning. Yeah, this morning would be accurate. As they continued to pull away from everybody else, continuing to show that they are a super perfect team. Wow, I said continuing a lot in that, didn't I? That's a mess, man. All right, apologies. And then we also have Beyond the Game splitting with CE, but then losing to RPG 0-2. Like, that surprised me completely. Fully blew away my picks.
Right? So, like, the surprise team of this group stage for China, losing to a team that was struggling for a long time, and you and I had joked was like guaranteed to be relegated, and actually have kind of made a little bit of a resurgence here this last week and a half,
right.
I would say.
Yeah, no, I would agree. And then RPG leaping over KT at the bottom of the standings because of that surprise win. So China's still in a state of flux. Only one team's qualified so far, but games are happening all the time. Monday, Tuesday, check them out. They're a lot of fun to watch. I find that I enjoy the Chinese games actually a little bit more than some of the other things. When you and I were talking to Tetcher after we finished interviewing him, you know, I mentioned that I like the Chinese set a little bit more. I like the 2-game series, and you either tie or you win, right? There is no best of 5. It's quick. It's a lot of variety, and like people are just rolling through things.
It's similar to, you know, Bahgz's always biggest complaint with HGC. Not that he's the biggest Heroes esports fan in the world. He's more of an Overwatch guy, but his biggest complaint is it's because it's best of 5. It's just very time consuming. And for me, it's like the only thing I watch. I watch a little Overwatch, but it's really digestible when it's the best of 2, right? It's 2 matches, guaranteed. In and out, in and out, in and out. Quick,
Right. So I definitely dig the Chinese format a little bit better. I don't think we'll see anything change, but I definitely dig the Chinese format a little bit better. Over in Korea, MVP Black took out L5 3-1. And what was interesting to me, a couple of things that I noted, and then we talked about a little bit. MVP Black went triple support in game 1. Morales, Brightwing, Lucio, which was crazy, but then they lost it, which was also crazy, right? Like,
it didn't work. You would think you wouldn't be able to kill anyone, and it would just be like a brutal game, and then someone would have to win like with like macro or something. I don't know, but ultimately L5 really impressed me. They were able to isolate a single target, lock them down, and blow them up, which is what you need to do when you have a composition that's not going to do a lot of damage to you, and their composition was not going to. And B, it just has like a ton of throughput, right? As far as healing goes, so you're not going to whittle them down. Period. Like if you don't blow them up in an instant, forget about it. You're done. Right. They were able to do what they needed to do to win that match, or that game rather. Unfortunately, they lost the next 3.
They did. They looked okay in that first one, and I thought they were going to struggle with the
They did, and I thought it was going to set the tone for the rest of the series. Right. Not the case.
But then the other thing we saw in game 3 was L5 went triple warrior. With they
did, but I don't really count the Zarya.
No, you have to almost count her because she's like that pseudo, right? So
yeah. But yeah, no, you're right. They went triple warrior. It was like Zarya,
Tyrael, ETC. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was crazy. So like it made, I don't know, it was weird. The drafts felt a little off.
They did. They were trying something different.
Right. So I mean, and it worked. It just didn't work well. No. So they went down. MVP Black ended up maintaining their perfect league record right now, and only Mighty's left, so I don't see that changing.
No, they're probably going to finish the season. The first team to do so, finish an entire phase undefeated. Fnatic certainly should have. I think they're head and shoulders above the rest of the competition in the EU, which says a lot. And I still think they're the best team in the world, even over the Korean teams. But I don't know. They let their guard. I don't know. The Playing Ducks beat them. I still like it was weird. Right before the clash, it's still can't explain that. But
it was weird.
They lost their chance to do so.
But so now MVP Black is in, and they have their BlizzCon ticket punched, and L5 and Tempest are tied. So only one of them's getting that auto bid, and the other one's got to fight his way through the.
Correct, and I didn't throw it in the notes who they're playing next week to preview it. I mean, we're gonna go over it later. They're highlighted, but yeah, it's gonna come down. They're tied in head to head. So like pre-clash, L5 beat Tempest. Post-clash in phase 2, Tempest beat L5. They are tied in head to head. Their map records are identical. So it's literally gonna come down to who wins this week, and if they both win, like how big do they win? And if they still finish tied in that respect, I think it comes down to a best of 5 tiebreaker to decide.
Definitely
but I'm not 100%
tiebreaker,
sure.
But I'm not sure if it's a best of 5 or not.
So,
and then over to EU. Holy crap! Playing Ducks, what happened? Like, I did not see that coming. They took down Zealots 3-2, and they took down Trick 3-1, and they're tied with Zealots now. So, depending on how this weekend goes, is going to determine whether or not the Ducks are in the Crucible or the Zealots are in the Crucible.
That's crazy. I did not see the Zealots dropping this far. They've dropped a lot of matches lately. Like,
they have
winnable matches. Like, no, don't get me wrong, very competitive. Like,
Right.
it could have went either way, but they needed to win a couple of them, and they didn't. And they seriously needed to beat the Ducks, and they didn't. The Ducks are like, Ducks fly together, man. I don't know what to say. Like, like their backs were against the wall. They literally, like, if they lost either of those matches, it was probably it. That was like they were in the Crucible. Beating Zealots was huge because that was the team they're competing with for that Crucible spot.
Right.
But beating Tricked was like, I didn't see that coming.
I didn't either. It
And
was
3-1.
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. And then we have.
So that Ogre makes a good point, and I forgot to bring that up. They were playing with Lauber, the tank from Leftovers and shot caller from Leftovers. So it's just and they were down their shot caller and tank Mopsio. So there is that.
Well,
so I guess there's an asterisk to it, and they still took them to 5 maps.
They also like last week they weren't looking as good either. They were doing all right last week, but they still struggled a little bit last week.
No, I hear you.
So, but Ogre's right. When you don't have Mopsio, who clearly makes a difference, you're allowed to struggle.
Schizo's got me laughing, man. The Ducks got the lag of mentality, man.
They do.
Yeah, as soon as you're about to lose your spot, you start practicing again, putting in a little effort.
Oh God, we gotta win. We want to keep.
We don't want to lose our paycheck.
Running.
Oh God,
right.
Yeah.
Let's keep the paycheck rolling. Come on, guys. But let's.
No, I doubt that. I mean, I think as far as I understand it from the rumor mill, I think Lagif's the only team that actually is like coasting through HGC, which is a shame, by the way. It really tilts me, but whatever. That's a story for another time.
Different story, man. Different story. Team Expert also defeating Tricked Esports, keeping them in that kind of third best team spot. And Dignitas gets their ticket punched after beating LiQuiud 3-1. So, yeah, standings, like you say, standings 4 through 7 are really close. Tricked and LiQuiud right at 6-7, and Zealots and Ducks at 5 and 8. Like, yeah.
It's really tight there. Ducks were a ways behind, but Zealots, Tricked, and LiQuiud have fallen to their level, and Expert has kind of climbed a step above those guys. So,
yeah,
the EU's close. And honestly, any of those 4 teams can beat probably anyone in EU, barring Fnatic, on any day.
Right.
Like, it's like 2 through 7 is insane in EU. I would only say good guys are, there's a gap between them and number 7, and then obviously there's a gap between Fnatic and number 2.
Right. All right, so let's jump over to NA. Roll20 had a wonderful performance this weekend, which punched both theirs and Team Freedom's tickets to BlizzCon as the 1 and 2 seed, respectively. Roll20 and the matchup that we were so looking forward to all week last week. We talked about how awesome the match Roll20 versus GFE was going to be. And Roll20 was like, nah, man, we're going to 3-0 these guys. And not only are we going to 3-0 them, we're going to 3-0 them on their maps, letting them play their style and just be like, what's up? It's clinic time. I mean, damn.
So I'm a Team Freedom fan. It's been documented on the show several times, but I'm rocking the Roll20 jersey, A, because it just came in, and B, because they were rocking and rolling this last weekend. Honestly, they're rocking and rolling. So, like you said, they took them to Braxis and Warhead, whooped them, let them get their global comps that they love, whooped them. Didn't matter. They beat him in 5.5 minutes on Warhead Junction.
5:26, the guaranteed fastest HGC game to date.
Really? Worldwide?
Yes. 5:26 is now the fastest. Yes. So, like, I don't...
That's a statement.
I don't even, like, dude, I don't know, man.
That's a statement. Like, that is a statement game. Like,
I struggle because I like GFE so much, though. But I'm like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, I know. I hear you. It's like you're boot camping. Like, I don't know this for sure, but it seems to make sense. The logic makes sense in my head that they were boot camping for this match. Like, that's what this preparation was for, right?
Right.
Didn't work. Would you make the argument that this was the worst boot camp ever?
I mean, I kind of feel like I have to. Like,
they needed a reverse sweep.
That's
to beat
where I was going. Like, how do you need to reverse sweep Lag Force? Like, how is that a thing? How, like, here's my problem. I like Fan. I like Udall. I like Akaface. I like the individual component. I even like King Caffeine. Yeah. We've said it many times, I don't feel like the King Caffeine K1 Pro to GFE was the right move to make, but whatever, ignore that. I like the players individually. They're struggling together on a team, and like, so the real problem is this, right? Let's say they don't go to BlizzCon, which playing the way they are, I don't expect them to make it to BlizzCon. How do you fix the team? You're still, unless the rules change, you're still stuck with only 2 roster changes. So what do? You like boot Fan and Udall and say, all right, we're blowing up the end core of the team. Akaface can play because he's Akaface. Like, how do you do it? How do you deal with it?
I don't know. It's tough to say. It's like they're in a slump right now, right?
Yeah.
Teams go through slumps. Roll20 has gone through slumps. As dominant as they look right now, they have gone through slumps. So I don't want to jump to conclusions and say that roster changes need to be made.
Okay.
It's hard to identify an individual player that needs to be moved. Give it time. We'll see how they do at BlizzCon. That's what this team was built for, right? That's why they brought in CAF and K1. Hoping to reclaim some of that old glory. They're going to have the structure of an org. They're going to have the opportunities that they weren't afforded before, that they're afforded now. That's why they were able to go. They did well at the Clash. They performed well against Europe at the Clash. They're not performing that well now, but they did. They're going through a slump. I don't want to overreact. I will say that Roll20 came out and punched him in the face, but I don't want to overreact to it. After BlizzCon, we can revisit it if they don't do well. If they disappoint there, we can revisit it and figure it out.
You're assuming
they make it. Right. I know. So that's the other thing. Like, Superstars is playing really well. Could be a dark horse in the playoffs because Tempo and GFE are struggling.
Right.
Space Station is wishy-washy. Is that fair to say? I think it's fair to say. Space Station is wishy-washy.
Yep.
Like, they've won some matches that they impressed you, and they've lost some matches where I'm like getting reverse swept by Superstars when you're up 2-0 handily, and then like I can't tell if they were like, "All right, we're up 2-0, let's draft Nova," or if it was like legit, like, "Hey, this is a good spot for Nova." Like Dread was like, am I missing something? Is like Nova Jane, like Nova the Jane encounter, the new Jane encounter? Like, am I missing something here?
Right.
So I don't know. We don't know. It's tough. It's a good point. I still like out of that 4, I'm still leaning towards Gale Force. All teams, all 4 of those teams have warts though. Like there's just.
So here's my problem, right? So chat's been talking about how clearly something's wrong and something's off with Gale Force. I come back to if you had a coach or
I don't
something.
know. Roll20 doesn't have one.
They still neither of them have coaches yet.
Okay, but
like this,
but a lot of the other teams do now. Like
right.
You know, Tempo has had one for a while. Kala has been their coach for a while. Team Freedom has Aether. Space Station has Yuge, right? So
yeah, I think he's still doing it. Yeah,
it's the same. I guess the argument is the same as it has always been against GFE. Is that when they look bad, it looks like it's a lack of discipline, right?
Right. Right. Well, that's my point, right? Both Roll20 and GFE and any team without a coach is lacking that. It's not just discipline. It's that there's one person who's going to say, this is what we need to fix. This is what we need to work on. This is what you guys need to be doing to attain that next level of play, right? He doesn't have to be the best macro. He doesn't have to be the best micro. He needs to be the one or she. It probably be a she. I'm just ranting here for a minute. That person needs to be the one person to say, these are the things we're doing and keep the team going in the right direction. It's very hard to have a player do that. It's even harder to have a player do that over a long period of time. As long as this season is, it's too long for a player to play and have to coach. It doesn't work that way. You need a coach, even if it's not the most game knowledge. Like, he doesn't even have to coach you on the game mechanics. The reality is, you just need someone running the schedule and keeping you on task and saying no and holding people accountable for their screw ups, right? Like, being good at the game is a bonus. But ultimately, like, just keep the team moving forward. So, I don't know. But before I go too far down my tangent, let's finish at A. So Superstars went crazy and reverse sweep Space Station Gaming, like you said, but Space Station Gaming grabbed Nova twice. Like, what'd you do to yourself?
I think it was bad karma after that.
Possibly.
There's bad juju. I don't know if maybe it was a competitive Nova, but I think it was a trolly Nova, and I think that the Heroes eSports gods came and smote them for the next 2 games.
Fair enough. And Team Freedom just doing Team Freedom things, right? Like 3-0'd.
They're on a roll as well.
Yeah.
I would like to see them rematch against Roll20. Like, I think they were caught off guard by the brand new Garage patch against Roll20. And again, maybe I'm a little biased. They lost 3-0 to Roll20. There were 3 competitive matches.
Right.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So
it's true.
I would like to see them go back at it.
Okay. And then Even in Death does look like they're improving, but I don't think it's going to be enough soon enough. And I think we're going to see,
no
one
doubt
of the amateur teams take them out.
Ooh, only one amateur team is going to take them out.
Heroes
correct.
Hearth. Yeah.
Correct. I could see Heroes Hearth beating them. I don't see imported support or.
I don't know, man. Hold on, I gotta scroll down so I get like.
Or Donkeys R Us or what the new Flame is lame. Was it Optic Gaming?
Operative. Yeah, you're right. I'm looking back down at it. You're right. Nobody's gonna. It's Heroes Hearth or bust, right?
Correct. And honestly, Heroes Hearth is gonna pick them. They're not gonna play. They're not gonna pick Lagif.
Right.
The way they're playing now, I wouldn't. They're playing
because they're gonna do the same thing they did last Crucible.
Yeah, which is like we're gonna actually practice this week, and when we'll show up and we'll play a while. And they're gonna, which is, my pick. Imported support's probably gonna come out of the playoffs again, and probably losing the playoffs again. And then I'd hate to say it, but hopefully that team breaks up, so some of the more talented players on that team can end up in the HGC.
Somewhere else, yeah. Who knows? We'll have to see what happens. Then jumping over, so we do have a handful of teams already qualified for BlizzCon. In Southeast Asia, we have Deadly Kittens, right? In Taiwan, Soul Tortures is in. In China, like we mentioned, the SPT is already qualified. Korea, we have MVP Black. EU, we have Fnatic and Dignitas. In NA, we have Roll20 and Team Freedom. And then Crucible, we have a couple of teams already set for Crucible appearances as well. China, Hots Lady, they don't do a Crucible there, so they'll get relegated. Over in Korea, we have RRR and Raven both going to the Crucible. In the EU, we do have Team Good Guys going to the Crucible. And in NA, it's definitely even in Death and Lag Force, right? I don't think there's a way for Lag Force to get out at this.
No, they're locked into the Crucible, I believe. Let's see, pulling up the stand. Yeah, it's on the Blizzard site. They're locked in.
Yep. So, and then looking forward to this weekend, we have the Latin American finals running the 23rd and 24th. Unfortunately, we're only going to be able to get Spanish and Portuguese streams, but they will be decided by Sunday. So we'll have the Latin American team going to BlizzCon. We have Thunder Awaken and Red Canids and Neo Blue, and I'm going blank on the fourth team that's qualified for that. But, you know, part of me thinks that Red Canids is probably a lock. But I'm like definitely hoping that
maybe there'll be
Thunder,
a surprise.
Well, Thunder, not, yeah. And Thunder Awaken used to be Thunder Awaken. Now they're actually known as Sixth Sense. They just got picked up as they were traveling to Brazil. So I'm kind of hoping that they'll actually.
Let me see if I can pull it up on Liquipedia real quick while you continue.
So, well, actually, I finished that. If you come up with a fourth team, that'd be great. And then A and Z finals are actually going to be September 30th. That's going to be streamed live from Sydney, the ESL studios in Sydney. And that's actually going to be 9 p.m. Eastern on September 29th for those of us in NA. That's 9 Eastern, so 6 Pacific if you want to watch those live on September 29th. And we'll mention it on next week's show.
I got you. You ready?
Yep.
So we've got Red Cannons, you already mentioned.
Yep.
They'll be facing Black Dragons, was the team we're missing.
That's who it was. Yep.
From the South region since 1997, apparently. So
wow.
Original Brazilian StarCraft eSports. I don't know. Or Warcraft 2. I don't know what was in 97. What was happening then? Doom.
Yeah, probably Warcraft. God, were there even esports in 97? That was the year I graduated high school, man.
Black Dragons since
All right.
1997. I mean, maybe it's just a gaming, like maybe it was
group?
like yeah. Who knows? A gaming group.
Quake,
and they just kind of grew.
Yeah, Quake was around in 97. That's a good point.
Possibly.
Yeah, no, it definitely was because Team Fortress had come out at that point too.
So there you go.
Yeah.
It's all before my time.
I'm so old. All right.
I was 8. 97 was a good year. Red Cannons, Black Dragons.
Yep.
And then Thunder Awaken. Still listed as Thunder Awaken here on the
Yeah, they haven't updated the Liquipedia page, but they are now 6 cents.
Versus Neo Blue Esports.
Okay.
So.
Cool.
There you go. That's your fourth team.
And that, oh my God. Schizophrenic, really? Damn. Oh, man. I feel old. All right, so moving on. We did pick a couple of games that we're looking forward to. We picked out 3 games this weekend. This weekend's only Friday, Saturday because it is the last week of HGC. This happened every part so far. Friday, Saturday is the only 2 days for the last weekend of the HGC action. So I'm looking forward to Superstars Gale Force Esports on 5 o'clock Friday night. And I'll tell you why. Gale Force continues it because this was not one of the ones you highlighted because really this doesn't matter to the standings. But with Gale Force's continued slump and Superstars looking like they might be a little more on solid ground, I'm looking forward to this game. I think Superstars might actually take Gale Force. What do you think?
I don't see it happening, but I'm gonna open up Master League real quick. Well, pull that open real quick. Do you have Master League open?
Of course I do.
Oh man, you are so much. I had it open. To be fair, I had it open.
You did have it open, yes.
All right. Let's see what I picked here. I've got Gale Force. I have Gale Force winning, but I have it close. and I wouldn't have had it close had they not been struggling. I have them winning 3-2.
I have Superstars winning 3-2. I still think it's close, but I think Superstars can actually take that game.
We are going to have to revisit this next week.
For sure. Well, here's why, right? Superstars seems like they're catching their footing, right?
Yep.
They've done decent the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
Shrey seems to be more on the ball than he has been recently. And that's going to help them. Right, it's certainly not going to hurt them, right? They beat Space Station Gaming 3-2 last week.
Reverse sweep.
Right, but it happened. And Space Station Gaming 3-0'd Gale Force the week before, right? It's always hard saying, well, this happened to this team, right? Because it's always how you line up. But also remember, Superstars took Tempo 3-1 2 weeks ago.
Listen, Superstars is on fire. And this was a team that literally 2 weeks ago I was saying was going to be in the Crucible.
Right. I was with you. But they're on the upswing, man. They're on the upswing. How do you bet against that?
I don't know what changed. What was it, Hosty that was interviewed after the reverse sweep, I believe?
Yes.
I'm sure Super Dave will correct me. Super Dave, the Superstars fan. He said that, like, for a little bit there, it was miserable. They weren't happy. They weren't winning.
Right.
But now I guess they're practicing more. Something's clicking that wasn't clicking before, and they're playing better. And it's just,
it shows.
It shows, obviously. Clearly, the results show.
Right.
They've always been a dark horse in NA. It's always been a roster that people liked.
Yes.
So we'll see if they can leverage this momentum, keep it going. If they beat Gale Force, Schizophrenic was saying that, nope, reading Twitch chat while talking is not something smart to do. It's not very intelligent of me. Ogre's saying that GFE will be done with that roster. I don't know if that's,
they can't.
What
are they going to
just coast?
Are they going to B-step? They can't B-step it, right? What are you going to say? All right, screw it. You're all off the team. So here's the problem with that. Like let's play this through a little bit, because this is actually an interesting discussion, especially with where we are. If GFE gets swept and the organization's like, I'm done with you guys. Okay, GFE leaves and they go back to being fan in the 4 All-Stars, right? Or whatever they want to call themselves, right? I'm just throwing that out there. That's not what it'll be, but so now you have a team, fan in the 4 All-Stars, and you're still locked to only 2 roster changes. You don't have a coach. You don't have anyone in charge to say these are the 2 roster changes we should make. You have a manager, but does Royce stick around or does Royce leave because now GFE's gone, and GFE, maybe Royce wants to stay with GFE and not necessarily the team itself. Okay. So
the team could dissolve
a la B-step.
Have an open division be promoted, have an open division team be promoted, and Gale Force could hook that team up. Dude, probably won't.
No, that's what Schizophrenic literally just typed out. GFE drops the roster, imported support gets P-stepped into HGC, GFE picks up imported support.
It could happen, but I doubt that they would. We would see GFE out of the hero scene for a little while until there was a team that was looking good climbing the charts. Because GFE, again,
right.
Like Trent said, you don't want to pick up a team that's not going to compete for lands.
Right.
And Imported's not no hate. I love Imported. It's probably my favorite amateur team, and it has been I tried to get them on the Weekly Buzz. It didn't work out when they were going to the Crucible last time. I was so impressed with, I just fell in love with that team when they were running Cho'Gall successfully.
Yeah.
And it's still something that they do. There are respect Cho'Gall bans for that team.
All night last night there were Cho'Gall bans in Open Division.
Exactly. So, but I think that was for Team Numeric. So.
It was, but all over the place we saw that happening. But yeah, I could totally see what Schizophrenic describes. It may not be GFE picking him up, but I could see Heroes Hearth being in because Heroes Hearth winning the Crucible, and then I could see imported support being pushed up into because GFE gets B-stepped.
And then GFE makes their return when they see an unpicked up team climbing the charts, a la Team 8 did before Roll20 picked them up, or a la No Tomorrow before Space Station picked them up, and before they started struggling. Yeah.
Right. So let's jump to Saturday. We have Zealots versus Team Good Guys. really important for Zealots. But we also have Fnatic playing Ducks, which is also really important for Zealots.
Both those, like, playing Ducks not gonna win. Can I say that? Is that fair?
So
playing Ducks is going to lose to Fnatic.
So here's my thing. Okay, all right. So, all right, on Master League, I agree with you. I 3-0'd him. Okay, I agree with you. But I want to throw something out there for you to noodle on. Fnatic is so far ahead of everybody, they automatically get first seed, period. No matter what they do this weekend, they have first seed. They could take the weekend off and be like, you know what we're going to do? We are going to run push comps and try to get back our fastest game in HGC history record. We want that. We want to beat 526. We want 515 as our target. How do we do this? It's easy to lose a game if you chase something like that, right? In fact, we saw it at the Clash. Yeah, we saw it at the Clash where one of the EU teams was chasing a record. They got wiped at the core. The core had 10% left. The other team went the whole way in and won the game because they had a standard comp.
I think that was Fnatic, actually, wasn't it?
I feel like it was too. It was either Fnatic or Dig. It was one of those two teams. So I'm saying, like, we could see something similar and the Ducks could capitalize on that.
And to be fair, I will say, to be fair, the Ducks did beat Fnatic in a similar situation right before the Clash, the last week before the Clash.
Right.
Fnatic got their only loss to the Ducks. But
I still called it a 3-0. Right? Like,
but I don't see it happening. So Fnatic's gonna win.
Yeah. No, odds are definitely on Fnatic's side. I'm throwing out a theory, right? Like, my Master League
it makes
prediction
sense.
is 3-0, but
it maths out.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the chance. But and
Zealots versus good guys is like, that's a little more competitive. Like, it's much more likely for Zealots to win that matchup, but they could also lose. So
in Ulset, yes, they have definitely been vocal that they don't want to troll games if it'll affect the standings. And if they troll that game, it could affect the standings for playing Ducks. It definitely won't affect them for them. And so we may not know if they're going to troll the game until Zealots Team Good Guys, right? Because if the result from Zealots Team Good Guys makes it so that match at 2 p.m. doesn't matter, then we may see Fnatic trolling it and trying to do something similar where they may lose to playing Duck. But
I don't think there's a way where it won't matter. And here's why. If Zealots wins, Fnatic can't just troll and lose to the Ducks, because then it sends them to a tiebreaker, right? Or just sends one of them to the Crucible, one or the other. And then if Zealots loses to the good guys,
you're right.
Again, Fnatic can't really troll, because if the playing Ducks win, that guarantees that, like, gave the Ducks a free pass on the Crucible.
You're right. You're both right. So yeah, so Fnatic should play it straight. But if Fnatic plays it straight, it's 3-0 Fnatic. Right? Like, I don't think anybody believes that.
No doubt playing Ducks has a much tougher weekend ahead of them. Like, they've already climbed a massive mountain. Now they need, like, you know what? I'm drawing a poor blank for this analogy. They've already climbed a large mountain. Yep. Work with me here, people. A large mountain they've climbed, beating Tricked and beating the Zealots last weekend. Now they need to beat Fnatic, which is like, they need to climb Mount Everest without an oxygen tank.
Right? Like, it's the most uphill battle you could possibly have at this of the season.
And Zealots just needs to, like, roll down the hill without, like, getting hurt.
I wouldn't go that far, because like TGG may be into the Crucible no matter what, right? But I don't know that I would go far enough to say, yeah, they're out.
Right. That was probably too drastic an analogy, right? But they have a much easier path where they need to defeat
it's a leisurely
BKB and boys.
It's a leisurely hike versus climbing Mount Everest, right? That I'll go with.
All right.
All right. Oh man.
I'm sorry. Did I tilt you?
No. I'm just reading chat. Like, I love our chat is so There's so much activity in our chat that I love it. And like, that's what I love about this show. You guys care about HGC as much as we do. But we need to jump into some open division stuff because we do have some open division stuff to go over. So EU open division standings, I'm just going to cover this briefly because we're going to have our preview with Tetcher shortly. But Leftovers is in first place with 720 points. Bushido Esports in second place with 535. Run It Down in third place with 445. And Schießheisen in fourth place with 345. All strong open division teams over in EU. It will be interesting to watch the playoffs. Those start Monday, the 25th. Definitely check those out on twitch.tv/follow Grubby if you can. I know it's during the day, but definitely check those out because those will be great games to check out and watch. And then we just had the final NA Open Division Cup happen.
We did.
Chat real quick. Great series. I watched probably 40% of the game. Now, a little higher than that. I went back and watched some VODs from some of the other streamers that were streaming some of the other games.
Oh, good on you. I was on Cavalier guest stream briefly, but mostly watched the Arcane Age stream.
Yeah. And we had Heroes Hearth in the semifinals. We had Heroes Hearth 2-1 Team Numerics, which is actually a solid team. They're looking really good. They're struggling this season. I don't think we're going to see them do anything magical this season, but 2018 looks like a good year for Team Numerics. And then we had Donkeys R Us lose 2-0 to imported support. And I feel like, yes, schizophrenic. I will also acknowledge that Heroes Hearth did not look quite as strong as they usually look. But again, you get into some of that fatigue. Like we've talked about this a little bit before. I think it's two things. I think part of it is fatigue. They've basically won 6 out of the 8 cups that we had in NA. I feel like they also have the playoffs right around the corner, so they probably were hiding strats. Because let's be honest, they could have not done the cup at all. They probably still would have ended up first seed.
I think Team Numerics also defeated. Let's not.
Well, no, Team Numerics.
I just want to give a shout out to
Team
Numerics.
Yes.
Right? I want to give them a shout out. So this is the second semifinals in a row that they've made it to.
Yep.
Flame is Lame, now Operative Gaming.
Yep.
Did not play in the previous cup. And that was like, so Team Numerics made it in then, and we didn't really blink an eye because Flame is Lame wasn't there, and they had traditionally been the 4th best team in the amateur scene. But this week, this cup, Team Numerics defeated them, I believe soundly. Like it was 2-0. I didn't get to watch the VODs for that. They 2-0'd Operative Gaming, formerly known as Flame is Lame. And then they took a game off Heroes Hearth. And I watched that, and that was like, to me, that came off as legit. I made a cheeky little tweet about it. No shots fired. Love Heroes Hearth. And then in the 3rd place game, defeated Donkeys R Us, which has like back and forth with imported support been the 2nd best team in NA.
That surprised me. Team Numerics taking Donkeys R Us 2-1 surprised me.
Correct. So I don't want to say that Heroes Hearth looked a little weaker this weekend. No, this week.
They definitely did, though. I don't want to take anything away from Team Numerics.
Okay.
But if you compare them to last week, they definitely did.
Okay.
It wasn't like you could tell maybe McIntyre had a bad meal that night. He didn't feel well, right? Like you could something was clearly off. I tend to lean it up towards, look, most of these teams are scrimming 6 to 8 hours a day. They're also playing on their own. 4 to 8. Let's go 4 to 8 hours a day because that's more realistic. But most of these teams that are in the top 4 are scrimming that often. In fact, the team I managed was supposed to scrim Numerics, but they made it into day 2 of the cup and they couldn't, which is cool. Like kudos to them. We were happy to be like, yeah, don't worry about it. But most of them are scrimming that often. It's been a full season of doing that for a lot of these teams, and like, the playoffs are right around the corner. Like, how much do you really want to show?
True.
You go into the finals, Heroes Hearth 2-0'd imported support. And they're sitting right now. They're 180 points ahead of Donkeys R Us right now. So Heroes Hearth is in first place at 720. Donkeys R Us is in second at 540. And imported support's third at 525. With Operative Esports, the old Flame is Lame, being in fourth at 345. there's a large gap. They didn't have to put on their A game for this series, right? They still did good. They still won. They got that sweet $1,000 or whatever it is that you get per cup.
It's not bad for an
no,
tournament.
It's really not bad, right?
Every 2 weeks, they've won 7 of them out of 8.
Right.
They won 7 out of 8. If you include the bonus cup, that's $7,000 for them to split.
Right.
Over the course of the season, like people for what it's worth, like people complain about like the amateur scene being like 6 months we're stuck with this team without a chance to break in. Like,
right.
I mean, the team that's winning, they're winning money.
And Ulset had a good point, you know. Ish and BBJ struggling at the playoffs. Rest up a little bit the last cup. You can still win. They still won. It, you know, like you have an off week, or you can have a week where you take it a little easier, but still win. Anything's possible, right?
Now, while we're on the topic of this, I wanna bring something up that I noticed on Twitter that Collusion started, and then I kind of chimed in, and I misunderstood it at first, and now I'm on the same page here. How do you feel about Heroes Hearth running kind of like, I don't want to say trolley comps, but they were weird comps because they were facing on day one they're facing amateur teams that are just not nearly competitive with them, to be fair. So like there was specifically in my mind, there's a match where Heroes Hearth, Arthalon's running Murky on Tomb of the Spider Queen, and they won easily. But Collusion, his argument was that they should be just drafting standard. If they're pub stomping, they pub stomp, whatever. And that the opponent, the weaker team, learns more from that than they do from both teams, is what the argument he made, that they both learn more from that than Heroes Hearth goofing off, air quotes, than what both teams would learn from that. So I kind of like, I see what he's saying, right? But I also get the other side of the argument. Whereas maybe there's more to be learned in a more competitive environment where you're drafting a weaker comp for the weaker team for a match that lasts more than 5 minutes. You know what I mean?
Right.
Where
right.
it goes. I mean, yes, they're not playing against standard, but they are learning more. That it's more competitive, right? I don't know. It's tough to say.
No. I mean, I get it, right? Like, I don't know.
But at the same time, the argument can be made that it's nice. It's like a mental breather for these teams, for like teams like Heroes Hearth, where they can kind of like just coast and like do some fun stuff as they're going along. So, and then again, like I said, you can make the argument where these weaker teams, instead of getting pub stomped in 5 minutes, they're actually playing a 15-minute match against Heroes Hearth and competitively trying to win it.
Right. I don't know. I struggle with that because. First, I totally get the idea behind that and saying, well, you know, if everybody plays something competitive, then there's more for people to learn.
No, because it's standard, right? Like if they're both playing standard, that's like there's something to say. Like, why did we lose in 5 minutes? And you can go and watch the replay and find out. Where at the same time, I also recognize that you're like, well, I am so much better than this team. We're gonna have some fun to relax a little bit because we know we have tougher games coming up. Like I get both sides of it, and yeah, it sucks, man. Yeah, I don't know. Collusion's biggest concern was making the scene in general better. Both teams take away more from it.
Right.
Rising tide raises all ships, right?
But does it so let's visit this for a minute, okay?
Okay.
I have been on a completely amateur team, sucked into playing what turned into the original GFE team. So it was against Udall, all those guys. It's not fun. They played standard. The game lasted like 5.5 minutes. Now, had they played something a little less standard, at the end of the night, we felt like we got stomped. Like, what was the point to this? You know, we did this tournament. We thought we were going to have fun. This was horrible. Had they played something less standard, there's a possibility that we either could have at least come close to winning and felt better about our performance, even knowing that, dude, we're playing pros and clearly they know what they're doing and we don't, and they can punish us for that. So I guess, but if I step back from that, because that's what's coloring my opinion, right? But if I step back from that and I say, okay, the idea behind the open division is all the teams should get better so that we have a deeper player pool similar to EU, where more teams are more competitive and then more the fight gets there. Yeah, standard on standard makes sense. Where if you just draft something that's completely ridiculous and it wins, it's like, well, what am I going to learn from that other than your completely ridiculous comp stomped me, right? But there's probably something to be learned from even in that stomping.
Well, that's what I mean. That match, theoretically, that match should last longer.
Right.
So I'm like, maybe you're not learning how the character interaction is better.
Right.
Maybe, but maybe you're learning macro better. I don't know.
Right.
That's I don't know. I'm not at that level. I'm not the team on the receiving end of that beating.
Okay.
So I really can't say.
Right.
We went on Twitter, Collusion and Ishbu were going kind of like having a discourse, and I butted in and gave my 2 cents and then butted out.
Right. Okay. No, and that's fair. That makes sense.
But I wanted to bring it up, hear what chat had to say, hear what you had to say, and just food for thought, people.
No, absolutely. It's definitely, yeah. Okay. Sorry, that threw me for a loop because I kind of feel like
I wasn't in the notes. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It was a good question, and it's one of those things. I feel like there's definitely something to be said about that. All right, so let's keep moving through the last of our amateur stuff. NGS, the Nexus Gaming Series, did just kick off beginning of this week. Definitely check that out. We have a link to it in the show notes. And then Heroes Lounge Season 5 signups are open now. That's the EU amateur scene outside of Open Division. Definitely check that out. And Chair League is into its playoffs, solidly into its playoffs. Those are Tuesday and Thursday nights. The finals for that are scheduled for October 3rd and October 5th, respectively. And then lastly, Heroes Hype Tempo Storm Season 3 is full swing. It's running right now. You can take a look at that later. We'll actually host them when we're done with the show, too. So all good things. Lots of amateur stuff going on around the hero scene. So definitely check it out. No matter what your skill level, there is definitely something for you to do. And then, so something that Bahgz and I had was the pleasure of talking to Tetcher on Monday.
That was awesome.
Right? I had such a good time.
It was a real treat.
And we really wanted to focus on the EU Open Division playoffs that start Monday. So we have a clip we're going to show you guys, pre-recorded clip. And then tonight or tomorrow morning, I'll actually be uploading the entire interview with Tetcher to our YouTube channel, so you can check that out. There's a link down below on our Twitch page to that YouTube channel, or you can check out our website, trolls.gg, to grab a link over on our YouTube channel as well. So with that said, everybody enjoy our interview with Tetcher about the EU Open Division. All right, so let's jump into some EU Open Division stuff. So we left it kind of open. Excuse the pun. And real quick, I'm just gonna so everybody's on the same page, just list off the top 8, because the playoffs will only be the top 8 teams out of the EU Open Division. I think you guys had 7 cups in NA. We got lucky and had an 8th cup because Gosu had an issue at one point. So
I was confused there.
Yeah, it's really weird. All right, but in first place we have Leftovers, and then down through 8 we have Bushido Esports, Run It Down, Shiseisen, Always Lucky, Polska Pamieta, Eat Kebab Bro, and Myth Legion Hot.
Good pronouncing of Shiseisen, by the way.
You know what? So interestingly, a listener tweeted in and said, "Here's how you actually pronounce that." And I'm like, "Cool." And I took that correct. And that was probably when I think they finished first. No, they finished second that week. I'm like, I don't recognize these guys. And so yeah, thank you. But
I actually had a similar issue where it was my first time casting them, and Grubby was just ripping me to pieces on how I pronounced them. So I went away between day 1 and day 2, got a German friend to teach me how to pronounce it and practiced for like an hour that night before the next Open Division comes so I could say it right, or right-ish.
I was leading up to that show that night. I was rereading his tip on how to say it for like 20 minutes and like just saying it out loud to get used to it. It's an interesting name. But all right.
Do you know what it means?
No. What does it mean?
Blunderbuss, isn't it?
Yeah,
right.
It's the German name for the Hunter's Blunderbuss talent. It kind of just means metal gun or something like that, but it's Hunter's Blunderbuss.
That's right. I think he told us that in that tweet, or someone else did after that. Yeah. All right. So I want to ask you about the bottom two teams first, because I went through and I like quickly added who had, first place, second place, third place, and the bottom two teams have actually never broken the semifinals at all. Myths Legion Hots and Eat Kebab Bro. Do you think these are like straightforward, because it's typical top 8 type play? So Leftovers plays Myth Legion Hots and Bushido plays Eat Kebab Bro. Is that like you guys are done, we got a free pass, or you think there's a chance?
It's definitely not a you are done, you have a free pass. But for starters, it's for the beginning shows how cool the Open Division format is. These are teams that never won, but they never won the thing, but are still able to get their chance to show up on the day because of consistency, just showing up and performing reasonably well in the cups.
Right.
But the fact is both these teams do have some pedigree. Like, this is the joy of Europe. We have so many players and so many teams that you'll be going through, and like Eat Kebab Bro, let's take them as an example. Shibli, to start off with, it's a full Polish team. Shibli played at ESL Leicester for one of the pre-BlizzCon events. He played for Silenced Monkeys.
Yep.
So he's already done previous HGC events and previous events of this caliber. So there's good pedigree there. Full language team again. There's still a chance for them, but the other team, for example, I have a slight bias towards. For starters, they have 2 players who have been around since almost the very start. Siska and Taluf.
Okay.
Have been around since almost the very start. But I have a slight biasness towards Myths Legion a little bit due to the fact that they have Durandir playing for them. And I had 2 very short stints of attempting to go pro. The first time was with Shwimpy and Wubby on a team called Team Tomorrow Big. They left the team to actually become big. So they actually left. They joined what was like 3 out of the 4 members of Fnatic, I believe, and eventually came to that roster after picking up the guys from Pirates in Pajamas.
Right.
The other time I did it was with Durandir. He was one of the people who I attempted to go pro with, and the fact he's gone so far is brilliant, and I absolutely love it.
That's awesome.
It's awesome. That's it's really cool to get that little backstory on players and teams from that you just don't get really the limelight that a lot of the other top tier Open Division teams do.
Well, and that shines a light on something that we talk about all the time, especially when we're comparing EU to NA for Open Division or just talking in general.
Yeah,
is that EU has such a huge player base that's like good at this game.
you go through like the Open Division right now, and even though we already have like a HGC with 80 players in it, we already have that. But if you go through the Open Division, you'll still find names that you know and recognize because they've already been to offline events.
Right. It's
because that's how wide the player base is and how close the skill gap is.
And that's what, like, honestly, that's what makes. I was watching the Crucible from Phase 1, and like I'm jumping up and down as Zealots won and as TGG won, because it was like, dude, this is what HGC was made to have, right? Here's an amateur team that didn't qualify originally, has gotten their way through the Open Division and displaced 2 regular teams. Like, that was amazing.
It is, and that's a fantastic feeling for not only the teams, but as someone who you're not supposed to be biased, but you also hear the Open Division casters.
Right.
You feel for those teams after having physically followed that journey with full casting almost for months at this point, and then seeing them succeed. It's a double-edged sword because you're so happy for them, but it sucks because you're not going to get to cast them anymore.
Right. That's a good point.
It's like watching like a kid go through like school, right? And then they graduate.
They move out, and it's like, oh man.
I had fun with
job,
you.
But God damn it.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to keep this bottom up kind of thing going because I think that works for this.
Okay.
Polska Pamięta is in 6th place, and Always Lucky is in 5th place.
Okay. So, Polska, despite having a slightly different roster, they made it to the semi-finals in the last playoffs.
Okay.
And the final words of Team Zealots before they vanquished them were, "You deserve to go to the Crucible. It sucks this is single Elim."
Right.
Those were the final words of the team that would go on to perform better in HGC before knocking out Polska Pamięta. They have a slightly different team, but we still have Rajuf, who's played in multiple offline events. Shehu, part of the legendary G2 lineup back from 2015-ish, 14-ish maybe.
Right.
But they're still strong. They're still very strong. But it's the question of whether they're strong enough to make it with their current roster. Their old roster was sublime, but it's slightly changed around. They still have immense talent. I would love to see more Polish talent in HGC right now.
Well,
they have a very tough first matchup, I will say, though.
Right, they have to face Run It Down up in the first round.
Correct, which is one of my personal favorites to win it due to, for starters, 2 members of... I'm going to sort of skip ahead here,
That's
sorry.
okay. No, go ahead, go ahead.
They have 2 members of Be Genius, for starters, a team that was already in HGC. They have Nasty, who is considered a incredible player by most. Cass, who is definitely a crowd favorite due to Surprise Butcher that we actually saw in the Open Division and just really solid play anyway. And Lampy, who I have to be biased to because UK player and is another player who competed at Leicester for the Sandwich Monkeys.
So I have to ask a question. I'm going to interrupt my own flow here because you brought up Lampy. So we noticed that in Cup 7, Tix and Lampy changed teams.
Yes.
And I was looking frantically and I could not find the rules. But how did that happen? Like, do you know? Like, what?
The teams change so often, it is very difficult to keep up with outside of the main HGCs. Like, I knew about the Athero going to Expert beforehand.
Yep.
But that's about as much as I was able to really learn with this. I knew a little bit about when Mopsio moved to Zealots as opposed to being on Polska.
Okay.
So yeah, it changes around quite a lot, but the majority of the time, it's quite hard to keep up with the Open Division team changes, and yeah, hashtag Poland remembers.
This is what's interesting to me. So like in NA, Gosu's very strict about you made a change, you have to create a new roster, and we saw that with
there is a specific rule about it. You must have at least 3 members of your original team to keep your points.
Right. And so here was the weird thing. And that's what I thought that was the case, but then I went and looked. Hold It Down and Held It Down were only 1 player different. So it was weird why they ended up doing that in NA, and I still want to get more into that, but okay. Moving on.
We'll have to get in the ear of someone from Gasu because they swapped out Mac for 1 day, and it was they had to reset all the
they redid it.
That is, I don't know if it's for 1 day, but if you do swap out you're not allowed a substitute who's not on your team sheet. That is 100% against the rules. If you have a player disconnect, you can't get a substitute for them.
Right.
I know that's in the rules.
Which is why both Tix and Lampy changed teams before Cup 7 started. Mm-hmm. Right. All right, so that was Polska and Run It Down. So then we have Always Lucky playing Shizeisen.
Correct. Again, a more Eastern European team for Always Lucky. Very solid players. Stork, for example, and Kuri-chan have been really solid forever. Basically, they've always been in that top spot, but have never taken the top spot. Same with Unprepared, actually. Even the entire team. Just look at that team, and it's like, this is a team that could do well. They've been on, like, I think probably 3 different rosters. What was that team? Oh, Virtus Pro, that's it.
Yep.
They've probably been on like 2 or all of them between them have probably been on every Virtus Pro roster.
Okay.
Which gives you an idea, which they consistently qualified for for European Cups.
Right.
So again, another team of huge potential, who have a very good chance, I would argue, against Shizeisen, but I think that's going to be one of our more closer matches. Shizeisen, again, made up of German players. You have Blade, who very solid player again. very fun to watch. Minecraft, which is, for starters, nice German play on word names there, which is already cool, but has been very solid. My favorite player name of all time, other than maybe Sir Ice Cream, I'm fabulous, who is another player who I've known for the longest time, am a big fan of, and have played many games with. Like probably him and Nanda and Bakery are the players I've played the most games with out of anyone.
Okay.
So very happy to see him doing well, but that's a full German team, so potential for an actual full German team to come in and maybe try compete against Team LiQuiD there, which is almost fully German.
Right.
Yeah, they have, what was it, one Bulgarian, right? That keeps them from
being that full German team.
Exactly. So if Seaside would make it in, Cowdell's going to go all the bias.
Oh, yeah. There's no way he doesn't.
The German efficiency here.
I fully expect him to if they can get by. But then, all right, so the top two, we have Bushido and Leftovers.
Yes.
Leftovers, I think, has an interesting story. So we're going to go to Bushido first, which is interesting to me because this is an open division team that a sponsor just said, you know, those guys, yeah, we're going to go ahead and sponsor them before they...
That is the argument for that is the organization is the Durham brothers.
True.
So they basically sponsored themselves for this particular case. But as a recap, there is a huge reason why this team has so much attention behind it. And that is, for starters, you already have Ziku and Tix, who were consistently incredible throughout the last Open Division season. On 4K MMR average and more, I think Ziku was on at the time. They were consistently amazing. They were consistently stars. Then you have Gerd, part of the second Team LiQuiD lineup, who performed really well for a very long time, and a lot of those players are still currently in Open Division, including Chris and players like that. Then you jump to Lucifer and Vortex, who you can't really ignore in this team due to the fact that if you talk about the beginning of European Heroes of the Storm, it's basically one name, and that is Team LiQuiD.
Right.
Because they spent almost a year and a half just winning everything. Just not stopping, not slowing down. And with the Durham brothers, Lucifer and Vortex, ex-Warcraft professionals, ex-Starcraft professionals, they have won European and World Championships in every game they have tried, Blizzard-wise, up to this point. They would love to get back into HGC and like top that as well, and just win another game. And just because at this point, if they do, I would probably consider them some of the best esports players that have ever existed. The ability to win 3 different games and be world class in all of them.
Wow, that's an endorsement right there.
They're good.
They are. No, they're definitely good.
Spanish Armada, right? Didn't they beat MVP Black at a PAX or something way back in the day?
They did. It was either PAX or no, it wasn't IM Shenzhen. Shenzhen was Virtus Pro, where trolling happened, and MVP Black abused the Zeratul bug, which is still one of my favorite bugs that ever happened. I don't know if you were watching that, but it was basically Zeratul used to be able to take Shadow Charge. MSI was the name of the tournament you're thinking of, by the way, which is a very fun tournament. But Zeratul used to be able to take Shadow Charge, target a minion to charge to it, and if he was quick enough to click on the minimap and target an enemy across the map, the charge speed would keep going, and he would charge all the way across the map to the second person he targeted. So he would go at like 2 times mount speed all the way across the map. So there's an amazing clip out there of MVP Black just playing, and you see Zeratul in top lane, and the casters don't notice it, because why would you learn for something like that?
Right.
But you just see Zeratul on the minimap just go, boo, and just join his team. And it was great. But yeah, that's a good one. And like I said, the old Spanish Armada of Black Scorp, Falcon, Lucifer and Vortex, and I can't Grand Paqueta.
Grand
Paqueta. Yeah, made it were the old Spanish Armada, and they were the old unstoppable force. And with Falcon and Black Scorp both retired, the Durham brothers currently is Grand Paqueta holding like the banner for that old team. If the Durham brothers could make it in as well, that'd be pretty cool.
That would be pretty cool. But one last team we have, Leftovers, who
yes, we do,
has like dominated.
They have. They were considered one of the favorites last season as well, and they also got to the semi-finals. It was them and Polska, and they weren't considered to be the team to get to the finals back then. It was very much more. Everyone was like, okay, there's going to be Zealots and more. and then good guy, and then leftovers beat Mar, and then lost to good guys.
Yep.
And it was that situation of, oh my god, the favorite's been beaten. Now it's going to be leftovers, right? Nope. Team good guys, or at that time Team Gangang. And it was like double. That was a fantastic part of the bracket because that was double surprises, but it was once again the advantage of the single elim format. So leftovers once again missed out barely.
Yeah.
Now they're back and they're in first, and they're looking way stronger. They look as strong as like Zealots looked last season. Last season it was very much almost out of the realm of possibility that Zealots did not go to the Crucible. Like it would have had to be an insane performance by another team to beat them.
Right.
It's a very similar scenario here for leftovers, where it's very unlikely that they do not go to Crucible. And if they do, it will make me quite happy. For starters, they currently have Mopsio as their team logo. Just a picture of Mopsio, which means if Zealots lose this next week and Playing Ducks win, the Zealots will also go to the Crucible, which means there's a chance of Mopsio having to play against his own face.
All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as we did putting it together. It was a lot of fun sitting down to talk to Tetcher. Like I said, that was just a shortened part of the interview. The longer interview, which went about 35 minutes and covers, how Tetcher got into the scene, all of that stuff, will be posted to YouTube, so you can check that out. Yeah, Bahgz, how did you feel that went?
It was awesome. Never personally. It was like I don't want to say like a starstruck moment, but like haven't had the opportunity to talk to someone that's like a really well-known name in the scene before. It's almost kind of like we got lucky. Like he happened to catch the show one night. He followed us. We were able to shoot him a message and see if he'd be interested in doing that for us. He was. He was a really nice guy, and it was a pleasure to have him on. And hopefully we can work something out for him to come back and preview the Crucible.
Yeah, no, it would be great. It definitely would be. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed talking to him a lot. And then on the Nexus Trolls earlier tonight, Daz asked me, he was like, so were you like starstruck? Were you able to actually talk? Because, he was in chat last time and you were already getting all giddy about it. I'm like, man, it was so awesome to just sit down with him and talk through Open Division and like all the insights he has in there. And I can't wait to talk to him more, maybe get some HGC China stuff out of him too.
The best part about having someone like Tetcher, or even when we had Trent on the show, is you learn a lot about something like, yes, maybe you have opinions on, but you aren't a primary source,
right,
so to speak. You know what I mean? Like you aren't in there. Tetcher has, he's followed these guys for 2 open divisions. Like a lot of these guys, they have bounced around. He's very, very familiar with the scene.
Right.
Trent worked for League, very familiar with what it takes to get sponsored, right? Like what it takes to get picked up by an org. Like it's nice to listen to someone who's more knowledgeable about a subject matter and hear their thoughts and opinions on something.
Right.
And it just very, very educating experience. And I love it.
It was awesome. I look forward to doing that more. If you guys out there, have people you think we should be interviewing or have people you think you can mention, hitting us up and getting on the show, let us know. At Trollin HGC on Twitter. DMs are wide open, so anybody can DM us, and we'll be happy to talk to anybody. Really, like this is our passion, and we like sharing that with you guys. Like our Twitch chat every time has been really consistent. You guys are great. The guys that have time to watch us live, and we appreciate that. So, but I think that's it, man. I think that's
Before we start signing off, I did want to bring up, we have a couple of changes coming up in the next week, so I want to give you guys a heads up.
Yep.
And so I think it's important to share with everyone. I have to work the next 2 Wednesdays. So normally LiQuiud would go out and find a new co-host for those 2 weeks. It had been vacant until the Kingfish Squad started recording on Wednesdays. What we're going to do now is for the next 3 shows, we're going to record on Monday, which actually isn't necessarily a bad thing. I was just thinking about it. It's literally the day after some of these events end, the day after the HGC weekend. So that's like, get it while it's hot. You know what I mean?
You know, so like I was thinking the same thing earlier. My only problem is the open division runs Monday, Tuesday, so we won't be able to cover those live. But that's like, I'm like, all right, that's okay. Plus, you know, we're doing it earlier. We're doing Mondays at 7:30 Eastern instead of 9:30.
It's a little easier on people, except for the West Coast guys. It might be a little early for them. It'll be 4:30 in the afternoon for them. But for the East Coast guys, people that work in the morning, it'll be nicer on them. And then the other thing, because it's official, I wanted to announce we will be having Hero Physio, an NA Open Division caster, chair league caster, has a Twitch channel where he does a lot of analytical stuff. He also last weekend and then maybe I think the weekend before has kind of like an open forum where he starts streaming, has people join him in Discord, and they're just kind of like watching heroes, drinking a beer, and it's like almost like an armchair HGC kind of thing. It's really nice. I joined him for that last week. I didn't join in Discord, but I was very active in chat. Just, you know, cool stuff. We will be having him on the show next week to preview, similarly how we had Tetcher on the show, to preview NA Open Division playoffs and get his pick his brain on what's going to happen
and his thoughts on HGC playoffs, because the HGC playoffs will be set at that point too.
Absolutely.
So it'll be a good show. Definitely join us for that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. All right.
So
are you good? Anything else?
I'm good.
Awesome.
If we have anything else to update, guys, just make sure you're following us on Twitter. We'll be sure to tweet it out.
Absolutely. So thank you all for listening to Trollin HGC, a weekly podcast about Heroes of the Storm eSports, a member of the Trolls.gg podcast network. We stream live on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/TrollsGG, every week on Wednesdays following the Nexus Trolls around 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Pacific. Quick programming note, though, we will be on Monday nights for the next few weeks, starting on September 25th. We will be recording at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific on September 25th on twitch.tv/Trolls.gg. In addition to our normal show, like Bahgz mentioned, we'll have Hero Physio on to preview the NA Open Division playoffs as well as the HGC playoffs. Bahgz, now that I've gotten that out of the way, where can people find you?
So first of all, I want to apologize. I didn't realize you wrote that in the notes, so I thought we were going to forget to mention it. So I wanted to chime in real quick. My fault. Guys, you can follow me on Twitter at powerup_Bahgz, where I retweet a lot of Blizzard esports stuff in general. Tons of Overwatch news the last couple of days. They have the final roster for the Overwatch League. They have a preseason date, and they have a date for the start of the official season, which will be in January. You can also watch me stream on twitch.tv/Bahgz. I haven't been able to play much of the video games lately, but that is where you will find me. I tweet it out when I'm going live. Give me a follow. If you want to watch, that's where you'll catch me.
Cool. You can follow me at LiQuidGG, LiQiuDGG. I definitely tweet whenever I'm doing anything. I do want to throw one other thing out there, though. Bahgz scours Reddit and will frequently tweet things before I've even noticed them with the Reddit links. So definitely follow both of us. We both also retweet a lot of stuff or tweet additional announcements with @Trollin HGC. So, you know, if you definitely want to really be kept in the loop about everything we're doing, follow all three accounts. Finally, thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. If you like the show and you're looking for a way to support us, you can do so at patreon.com/TrollsGG. All money collected through Patreon, Twitch, or PayPal itself is going to buy swag to give away at BlizzCon. If you want to just straight up donate for the BlizzCon fund, you can do so at paypal.me/TrollsGG. We will be buying all of that swag this weekend and getting it ordered so that we can have it shipped in time to take with us to BlizzCon, give to all of our listeners. You can subscribe to our show on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you happen to find your podcasts online. If you don't mind, leaving us a review will help us get more exposure to more people, because that's how iTunes and Google Play and Stitcher all decide what to show other people. So definitely leave us a review. I'd even like the reviews just so I can see what we can do better to make you guys happier with the show. Visit our website at www.trolls.gg to watch this and past shows, along with past video streams, which can also be found on our YouTube channel. If you want to hang out with us in the Trolls community in-game, just type /join TrollsGG in-game or join our Discord, trolls.gg/Discord. For announcements about this show and Heroes of the Storm eSport news, follow us on Twitter at Trollin HGC. Finally, if you need to get in touch with us, Twitter is the best way at Trollin HGC, or if you want to email us, trollin@trolls.gg. Thank you all and have a wonderful evening.
Peace out.